You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your Security Plus certification journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Behavioral indicators are often the first signs of a social engineering attempt. Unlike malware, which may leave digital traces, social engineering reveals itself through unusual requests, odd timing, or inconsistencies in communication. For example, an email that creates urgency but avoids specific details can be a telltale sign. Similarly, a phone call that pressures someone to bypass normal procedures should raise alarms. Recognizing these indicators requires training and awareness because attackers intentionally mimic normal interactions to blend in. When employees know what to watch for, they can treat suspicious behaviors as potential red flags rather than routine occurrences, turning everyday vigilance into a key defensive mechanism. Attackers rely on well-known psychological principles to manipulate targets. Authority is one of the most powerful. When someone claims to be a senior executive or government representative, employees may comply without question. Urgency is another common tactic, as pressure to act quickly reduces the time available for critical thinking. Reciprocity, or the sense of obligation after receiving something, can also be exploited. An attacker may offer help or information to build leverage. These psychological levers work because they exploit natural human tendencies. Understanding these principles helps defenders see why even rational, intelligent people can fall victim to manipulation. Trust building is central to many social engineering campaigns, and attackers often achieve this through reconnaissance and persona creation. They may spend weeks or months gathering details about an organization, its culture, and its employees. Social media provides a wealth of information, enabling attackers to create convincing personas that appear familiar and credible. By referencing colleagues, projects, or personal interests, attackers weave trust into their communications. Once rapport is established, they can make requests that seem natural. This method demonstrates that social engineering is not always immediate deception. It can be a long game built on carefully cultivated relationships. Publicly available information is one of the most valuable enablers of social engineering. Social media profiles, organizational charts, press releases, and even casual posts can provide attackers with everything they need to craft convincing messages. A LinkedIn post announcing a new hire may give attackers a plausible pretext to impersonate HR. A tweet about a business trip may inform timing for a CEO fraud attempt. The information people share without security awareness often becomes ammunition for attackers. By recognizing that public data can be weaponized, organizations encourage employees to adopt more cautious online behaviors, balancing openness with security mindfulness. Email remains the most common vehicle for social engineering, and content cues can reveal its deceptive nature. Mismatched domains, such as an email from payroll.com instead of payroll.com, are classic indicators. Unexpected attachments or links, especially those requiring credential entry, should be treated with skepticism. Awkward grammar, unusual phrasing, or inconsistent branding may also signal forgery. Attackers may deliberately include minor oddities to filter out cautious recipients, focusing on those less attentive. Training employees to scrutinize these cues helps shift detection into the hands of users. Since filters cannot catch everything, human awareness becomes a vital line of defense. Phone-based social engineering also presents distinctive red flags. Calls that request sensitive information unexpectedly, pressure quick action, or discourage verification are suspicious. Caller ID spoofing complicates matters, as it makes calls appear to come from trusted numbers. Employees should be trained to recognize that familiarity in caller ID does not equal authenticity. Attackers may also use scripted language that feels unnatural or overly formal. By noticing these behavioral anomalies, employees gain tools to resist manipulation. Since voice interactions create a stronger sense of legitimacy, vigilance is essential. Verifying through callbacks or official channels reduces the risk of phone-based deception. External service impersonation is a common pretexting tactic. Attackers may claim to represent vendors, delivery companies, or IT support services to gain cooperation. Because these roles are often trusted, victims may comply without much scrutiny. For example, someone pretending to be from tech support might ask for login credentials to resolve an issue, or a vendor impersonator may request payment detail updates. Defenses against these impersonations require strict verification processes. Employees must confirm requests through established contacts rather than reacting to incoming messages. By validating identities proactively, organizations undermine the trust attackers attempt to manufacture through impersonation. Verification steps are critical before fulfilling any sensitive requests. A simple phone call to confirm a wire transfer or a second approval for granting access can prevent catastrophic breaches. Attackers rely on breaking normal procedures by injecting urgency or authority into their requests. By making verification mandatory, organizations ensure that attackers cannot bypass security simply by convincing one person. Verification not only thwarts external attackers but also provides safeguards against insider manipulation. When employees know they are expected to verify, they feel empowered to slow down, ask questions, and uphold security without fearing backlash for delaying urgent requests. Insiders themselves can become targets of social engineering through manipulation of social pressures or incentives. Attackers may offer rewards for cooperation, appeal to friendship or loyalty, or apply subtle threats. For example, an employee might be tricked into sharing information under the guise of helping a coworker, or pressured into bypassing security controls to get things done. These methods exploit workplace dynamics, where people may feel compelled to comply with peers or superiors. Recognizing these risks highlights the need for a strong security culture where saying no is supported, and employees understand that resisting pressure protects everyone. Purely technical controls, no matter how advanced, cannot fully stop sophisticated social engineering. Firewalls, antivirus, and intrusion detection systems may block malware but cannot prevent someone from being tricked into emailing a password. Attackers adapt quickly, exploiting human behavior to bypass barriers that technology cannot anticipate. This reality emphasizes why human factors must be integrated into security strategies. Training, culture, and verification processes act as the behavioral counterparts to technical safeguards. Without them, attackers can walk through the front door simply by asking. The lesson is clear. Defenses must address both machines and minds. Responding to social engineering attempts requires cross-functional collaboration. Human resources may need to address insider risks, legal teams may guide appropriate responses, and IT departments must secure affected systems. Security cannot operate in isolation, since social engineering often spans organizational domains. For example, a phishing campaign may lead to payroll fraud, requiring finance and HR involvement. Coordinated response plans ensure no team is caught off guard. Collaboration fosters resilience by aligning expertise across the organization. Social engineering exploits gaps, and cross-functional cooperation ensures those gaps are minimized, strengthening the collective defense posture. Ongoing monitoring for social engineering indicators provides defenders with early warning signals. Security information and event management. Some tools can track patterns such as repeated phishing attempts or abnormal user behaviors. However, technical monitoring must be combined with human feedback, since employees often notice suspicious interactions before systems do. Regular reporting and analysis of these indicators allow defenders to adapt training and improve detection rules. Monitoring is not a one-time activity but a continuous process, ensuring organizations stay ahead of evolving attacker tactics. When combined with awareness, it becomes one of the most effective ways to detect and disrupt manipulation. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Designing user workflows to minimize risky ad hoc actions is an important preventative strategy. Many social engineering attacks succeed when employees improvise under pressure, making exceptions or bypassing procedures. By designing workflows with built-in checks, such as automated approval chains or required secondary verifications, organizations reduce the chance of dangerous shortcuts. For example, wire transfers may be processed only through a standardized portal that requires 2 approvals. These structured workflows help ensure consistency and provide natural barriers against manipulation. When employees follow clearly defined processes, attackers find it harder to exploit uncertainty or exploit urgency to trigger unplanned responses. Escalation paths are another safeguard, ensuring that unverifiable requests involving money or sensitive data are reviewed at higher levels before being executed. An employee who receives a suspicious email from an apparent executive should know exactly whom to contact and how to escalate the request safely. These predefined paths prevent attackers from exploiting ambiguity and pressuring individuals into acting alone. Escalation also creates oversight, as multiple eyes review high-stakes decisions. By embedding escalation into procedures, organizations transform social engineering from a personal judgment call into a controlled, collaborative process, making it more difficult for attackers to manipulate individuals in isolation. Verification codes and callback procedures provide additional layers of defense for high-risk transactions. For instance, a supplier requesting a change in bank account details may be required to provide a verification code issued through a secure channel. Similarly, employees handling financial transfers can be trained to confirm requests by calling the requester back at a known, trusted number rather than relying on email instructions. These safeguards break the attacker's control over the communication channel. By requiring an independent confirmation step, organizations ensure that fraudulent instructions are intercepted before execution. Verification mechanisms shift power back to defenders, creating friction for attackers. Progressive disclosure is another technique to minimize risk when sharing information externally. Instead of providing full details at once, employees can be trained to release information in smaller increments, only after confirming the legitimacy of the requester. For example, a caller posing as an IT support agent might be asked to verify their identity before receiving any system-related details. This method limits damage if a user is deceived, as sensitive information is not surrendered wholesale. Progressive disclosure transforms interactions into controlled exchanges, reducing the impact of errors and ensuring attackers must work harder for diminishing returns. Controls for third-party requests are essential because attackers often impersonate vendors or service providers. Organizations can mitigate this by establishing clear policies for verifying external requests, such as requiring changes to supplier accounts to be confirmed through multiple channels. Contracts can also mandate that vendors use secure communication methods and notify customers of security incidents. These controls ensure that relationships with external parties do not become blind spots for attackers to exploit. By codifying expectations and procedures, organizations close off avenues for impersonation, protecting against attackers who rely on trust in outside service providers. Role-based awareness training ensures that employees receive education tailored to their specific levels of exposure. A receptionist who fields calls from vendors may need to recognize pretexting attempts, while finance personnel require extra vigilance against fraudulent transfer requests. Executives, as high-value targets, benefit from specialized training that highlights their unique risks. General awareness campaigns provide a foundation, but targeted reinforcement acknowledges that different roles face different tactics. By aligning content with job responsibilities, organizations maximize the relevance and effectiveness of awareness programs. Tailored training empowers employees at every level to identify and resist the types of manipulation they are most likely to encounter. Simulated social engineering tests provide practical insights into training effectiveness. Beyond email phishing, organizations can stage phone-based or in-person pretexting scenarios to assess how employees respond. These controlled exercises expose weaknesses and provide opportunities for improvement in a safe environment. Feedback from these simulations is invaluable, revealing not just whether employees resist, but also whether they follow reporting and escalation procedures. Over time, repeated testing builds muscle memory, reinforcing desired behaviors. By treating these simulations as learning opportunities rather than punitive measures, organizations cultivate a culture of continuous growth in social engineering resilience. Monitoring tools can also help detect unusual user activity patterns that may indicate a successful social engineering attempt. An employee tricked into sharing credentials may suddenly log in from a foreign location or download atypical volumes of data. Behavioral analytics systems flag these anomalies for investigation, adding a technical backstop to human-focused defenses. Monitoring does not prevent manipulation, but it ensures rapid detection and response when it occurs. By analyzing user behavior in context, defenders can identify attacks that bypass initial safeguards. Monitoring closes the loop between human fallibility and technical vigilance, making the defense posture more resilient. Legal and privacy constraints play an important role when investigating suspected insiders. While monitoring employees is necessary for detecting threats, it must be balanced with laws protecting privacy and worker rights. Investigations must follow due process, ensuring that evidence is collected ethically and that employees are treated fairly. Collaboration with legal teams ensures that security actions remain compliant with applicable regulations. Privacy concerns must also be considered in cross-border organizations, where laws vary by jurisdiction. Balancing investigation with fairness prevents security programs from eroding trust, ensuring that defenses against insider exploitation remain effective without undermining organizational culture. Continuous improvement ensures defenses against social engineering evolve with attacker tactics. This involves measuring program outcomes, analyzing incidents, and refining processes over time. Metrics such as phishing click rates, reporting frequency, and response times provide feedback loops. Lessons learned from both successful attacks and simulated tests should inform policy and training updates. Attackers adapt quickly, so defenses must evolve just as rapidly. Treating social engineering defense as an ongoing cycle rather than a static program ensures organizations remain agile. Continuous improvement embodies the principle that resilience is built through persistence, adaptation, and learning, not one-time solutions. Cultural reinforcement is perhaps the most powerful long-term defense against social engineering. When employees feel comfortable reporting mistakes without fear of punishment, they are more likely to share suspicious encounters early. A non-punitive culture encourages transparency, allowing defenders to act on potential threats before they escalate. Routine reinforcement through reminders, recognition, and leadership emphasis keeps security top of mind. By normalizing caution and reporting, organizations transform security from an obligation into a shared value. Culture becomes the invisible shield protecting against manipulation, ensuring employees feel like allies in defense rather than potential liabilities. In summary, defending against social engineering requires a blend of design, process, and education. Structured workflows and escalation paths limit improvisation under pressure. Verification codes, progressive disclosure, and third-party controls disrupt attacker strategies. Tailored awareness programs, simulations, and monitoring tools strengthen human resilience. Legal and cultural considerations ensure fairness, compliance, and trust. By integrating all these elements, organizations build a layered defense that accounts for both human psychology and technical safeguards. Social engineering will always exist, but with comprehensive strategies, its success rate can be greatly reduced, turning human vectors from liabilities into active defenders. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.